Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for the lunar eclipse that is happening in the sign of Taurus. And this is going to be in my time zone at 3:03 a.m. And I'm in the Midwest in the United States. So if you are overseas, like in Europe, it'll probably be either 9 or 10 a.m. And I think anywhere in the world it'll probably be on the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. But first I wanted to tell you the name of this, since this is a powerful full moon. It's still a full moon. And according to the Old Farmer's Almanac, and they're getting these names from the North American tribes, as well as I think even European influence this. But this is like obviously the Northern Hemisphere, so it's going by the seasons that are closest to winter in November, late fall, we would say. And so it's called the full Beaver moon. And their explanation on almanac.com is this was the time when beavers finished preparations for winter and retreated into their lodges. I didn't know beavers lived in lodges. That sounds kind of fancy. So there's other names for the same moon in November, the full moon in November. There's a freezing moon, whitefish moon, frost moon, deer rutting moon, digging, scratching moon. So all these different names for this, but of course this is no garden variety full moon. This is a big deal because this is a lunar eclipse. It's in a later degree of Taurus. It's actually almost exactly in conjunction with my rising sign. So I'm like, whoa, what is going to happen? And I did listen today to a couple of astrologers who have, who are very popular on YouTube, who are talking about this. And I don't really like to do that before I record my own videos, but I just happened to be out and about and felt like that would be kind of an interesting thing to do while I was walking. And one of them was talking about kind of this feeling of maybe apprehension or something like that. And that person was even saying that they were feeling it already. And I know that I have been feeling that for the last few days. And I don't just automatically think everything is astrological. Sometimes a cigar really is a cigar, and it might be something something that you ate, something that is going on in your personal life. It could be just about anything. But I do believe in energy, and I do believe that we can pick up on it, especially if we consider ourselves very sensitive. So maybe it's that anticipation because it is coming up very soon. And I realize that that's why I'm recording this at 2:10 a.m. I still am wide awake, and I thought, why not record this? Because we're getting to that point where it's almost showtime. And that'll be next Friday. So I'm recording this on, I guess it's Sunday morning now, but yeah, so 5 days from now. So in terms of what is happening at this time, we have the sun and moon opposing each other at 27 degrees. The sun is at 27 Scorpio and the moon is 27 Taurus. Scorpio and Taurus are fixed signs. And there's a lot of Scorpio with these inner planets. And even we look at the outer, we've got Mercury in Scorpio, we have Venus in Capricorn, Mars is in Scorpio. And then even like Jupiter and Saturn are in Aquarius. That's a fixed sign. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed. Neptune in Pisces, Pluto in Capricorn. But that was really what I was referring to. And fixed energy does not budge. It's very stubborn energy. And that can be difficult. At the time of a full moon, we have the sun and moon in opposition. The sun represents the male, the masculine. If you want to say the divine masculine, the divine feminine, you could say it that way, but just the outer forces and the inner forces. And they are diametrically opposed. And so when you have oppositions like this, we also have oppositions from Mercury to Uranus and Mars to Uranus. Oh, wow. Mars to Uranus in particular, and Mars squaring Saturn. But that's very rebellious energy and very erratic. When you have this hard angle to Uranus, it's like you never know what somebody's going to do next. And if somebody wanted to fearmonger, they go, wow, that's really dangerous because this is like a powder keg. Somebody can, and it already is very tense because Scorpio is not a warm and fuzzy sign. Even if you're like, hey, I resemble that remark. I'm a sun in Scorpio, or I have a moon in Scorpio. The truth is that Scorpio is ruled by two planets that in Vedic astrology, they would say, oh, those are malefic planets. And I don't think, I was thinking about studying Vedic astrology, but that's one of the things that's off-putting to me, the fact that they do look at things that way, because to me that is only telling part of the story. It's all good, But the reason I'm personally saying about Scorpio being difficult is because Scorpio is a water sign, and yet Mars is the ruler of Aries. And Mars does have that fire, okay? Not just because of Aries, but if you think about it's a warrior energy, it's the god of war. So, you think of war, you think of fire. You don't think of water. Let's put it that way. And so and Pluto is the lord of the underworld. So there's always that kind of those secrets, that festering stuff, and the warrior wants to, take his sword or whatever and just cut through all of that. And the Plutonian energy it has its own ability to kind of tear things down in the name of getting rid of the rot. But the problem is that when you're dealing with these very combative and destructive tendencies, you have the potential for the lower aspect of it to come out, because there's always going to be a higher and lower manifestation. And there's no sign that has this perfect reputation. But there's a reason why Scorpio has the reputation it does. And it's like people who know Scorpio individuals will say, wow, this person I can't figure them out because they won't really give all of themselves. You know, they're always kind of secretive, and they can be very cutting, and, you know, the lower expression can be kind of mean or cruel, ruthless. The higher expression can be very brave and protective and profound, healing. And it's a powerful sign. There's no question about that. Even the lowest manifestation of a Scorpio person can still exude a lot of gravitas. They have that aura of, substance behind them. That's, they're not flaky. They don't come across as weak, even if they are in certain ways, giving away their power. They still come across as strong and brave. And it's highly intuitive. But the problem this is the problem with it, is that it can be used as a weapon, this incredible insight. And, I was just thinking about myself, because I realized that I'm very scorpionic. Even with the sun in Sagittarius, I have it in the 8th house. I have the moon in conjunction with Pluto. There's something else that I have that is Plutonian too. But the thing is that I realize when I'm trolling, it's not really trolling online, but when I'm dealing with people that are I'm not talking about coming at me, but just when I'm debating people, which I like to do, using that kind of like insight, you have to make sure you're not using it as a weapon, because it can be a little bit unnerving for other people, because the people that are Scorpios or have those elements, other people can think that they are seeing right through them. So if you have Scorpio rising too, that can happen. Or Pluto in the 1st house, okay? And this is what is happening to the collective, is that these things that have been underneath the surface are coming out. And what those other astrologers, and there was one in particular, were saying, yeah, it's happening at this time. And when I look at the aspects myself, I'm not sure, where they were basing that from, if they were just assuming because it's an eclipse, because full moons, lunar eclipses, especially lunar eclipses, because there's like it's like, if you look at it from the fate standpoint, it's like it's time. It's like showtime. And one of the more intriguing spiritual teachings that I keep hearing over and over again is the idea that we incarnated to experience disclosure, that we came here for this. I personally have that feeling of anticipation, but I don't feel like I've always known that I came here for this. And I read comments where people said, oh yeah, I always knew that I was going to be a part of this. And I was like, whoa, that is so cool. I would love to hear more about that, because it's like, did you know exactly how it was going to play out, that it was going to be this theme? What's going on? And it's coming to a crescendo, and I think that's the best way of looking at a lunar eclipse, is like just like last month we had a harvest moon, and when you have the harvest moon and you look at the moon outside and it's bigger, or a super moon, it feels like that sense of culmination. But if any full moon, it's self-explanatory, it's full. It's like the cycle coming to a close. And of course, there are monthly cycles. So because this is Scorpio season and because Scorpio rules secretive, clandestine things, that may be what that person was talking about. I mean, I look at Pluto and what's the aspects to Pluto, and they're pretty good overall, and same with Neptune. And I just get this feeling, that's why I'm saying, of the heightened, the mind is psychic. And another astrologer was speaking of some other kind of, I think it was a more esoteric thing that is also lending itself to psychic activity. But I don't think it had to do with any of that. But there's nice trines from the Sun and Mercury and Mars to Neptune. And these kinds of things can really make a difference, even if there is some kind of unrest, social unrest. And I can think of one particular event that is coming in the week. There is a trial that is, the verdict is going to be read right around this time, like maybe a couple of days before. I think it's going to be on the 16th, or yeah, a few days before. And they've already called up the National Guard of Wisconsin in the United States for this. And multiple, more than one astrologer or energy reader has said, as goes the United States, so goes the world. And I can just see Canada fuming right now. Roy's the red-headed stepchild. Or like, why does the United States always have to hog all the attention? And I mean, again, looking at it from the standpoint of fate, because a few years ago we had the North Node transiting through Cancer, and Cancer is the sun sign of the United States. We're born on the 4th of July. And it dovetails very neatly into what was going down at that time a few years ago. And so that was ground zero for kind of the catalyst. And, I belong to a lot of Telegram groups and YouTube channels about some of these, the citizen journalists and all that kind of thing. And these kinds of uprisings are going on all over the world. And I was just marveling at how much unrest there is. But I mean, it doesn't mean that it's all just riots or anything. I mean, it seems like for the most part there might be some semblance of order, but just the people are, they're demanding their freedom. Okay, well, Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius much? I mean, hello. So I just wanted to go through some of these aspects that are coming up. And I'm acknowledging that these astrologers mentioned the monetary system. I'm not, I do predictive astrology, but that's not my main interest or focus. And so I'm not going to just parrot what somebody else said, but I will add to that and say that I feel in my heart that we are going through a major metamorphosis. And I can only speak about the United States in the financial arena. And one of the things that I think is remarkable is how people are, workers are becoming very indifferent to making chump change. Because, and there are many reasons for this, and even working itself, there are many reasons for this. And I realize some of those some of those were engineered, and they came from the top down, but it still is involving the masses, and it does indicate a breach in the mentality of, that first chakra survival mentality of like, oh my gosh, no, I have to have a job, no matter what. Yeah, there are still some people who are caught up in that and would do anything to keep I was going to say the gravy train, but that doesn't sound right, but keep that flow going through what they know already, because that feels safe to them. But there are many people that seem that they are not willing to do it. And I really believe it's for the highest good. I also believe that something is going on to try to destroy some of these small businesses too. So I don't think it's all just benign, but it's not the workers' fault. I don't feel it's the workers' fault. I feel like this is fated for people to rise up for many different reasons, not just one. I mean, it's truly amazing. And it's not going anywhere because Saturn is going to continue to be in Aquarius in 2022. And Aquarius is the sign of the collective of humanity as a whole, and also for the egalitarian system. Because and that does not mean communism or anything like that, if we're looking at it from the monetary point of view. And we have, what do you call it? Uranus and Taurus. So we have that connection to the monetary system through the second house that Taurus rules, or represents, I should say, that area of life. And Uranus is technology and, again, that sense of egalitarianism. But the thing is, Uranus and the sign it rules, Aquarius, is not about conformity. So it's slightly paradoxical, but it's not about everybody wearing the same clothes, saying the same things, and doing the same things. And so communism, that type of a model, first of all, is not fair, because there are always people who are living high off the hog. But this is like the true democratic type of setup, and nothing to do with politics or political parties, but that idea that everybody has a say, everybody is important, nobody is above somebody else. That is what Aquarius is really all about. And let's face it, the Capricornian caste system or pecking order, this is where Pluto is doing the wrecking ball right now, is kind of obliterating that to get to Pluto in Aquarius. And when we talk about the Aquarian age, well, it's coming in waves. Jupiter is going to be long gone from Aquarius by the end of December. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I'll say long gone in the middle of 2022. So there's going to be, at this lunar eclipse, I mean, it could be, because it's a lunar eclipse, it could reveal something that has been hidden. And a lot of us are waiting and waiting for this. We've been waiting for years for this. Scorpio's the sign of the conspiracy theorist. And like I said, I call myself a conspiracy realist. I want to make t-shirts that say conspiracy realist. I've been looking for a design of a unicorn with a tinfoil hat on. Maybe I'll have to do some photoshopping. So the point that I'm trying to make is that this is, I'm looking at this one moment in time, but it's almost like absurd to do so because this is a long time coming. This is not, it's not like there's this one pivotal event. Well, I think there might be like this tipping point for sure. But we've had dribs and drabs too. And when we all look back years later and we try to say, okay, this was the tipping point, can we? Yeah, I mean, I think some people think that November is going to be when it happens and basing it on that eclipse. But my feeling is that people who have been hungry for the truth have already, when these things happen, we're going to be like, oh, I've been there and done that. I already know that. I already know that. I already know that. It's just that it's going to come out to the public. And so is it really a tipping point? Well, for the collective, it is. And for the monetary system, yeah, there can always be something going on with that. And I do think, though, that there's also the potential for wealth because both of these signs rule money houses. Scorpio, shared resources, and Taurus, the money that you attract to yourself or that you work for. And even Venus is in an earth sign. It's in Capricorn. And it makes an exact trine to Uranus. Now, Uranus is retrograding, and Venus is coming into its shadow period. And so it's kind of slowing down. And I really I think sometimes they say that some of the luckiest days of the year are when Venus and Uranus are in conjunction, if I'm not mistaken. But even a trine, I could see that being really good too. The thing about Uranus, what it represents is something unknown maybe showing up. And one of those astrologers mentioned love, mentioned having it in your 5th or 7th houses, Venus there or what have you, or even you could look at it from having Uranus there, either one of those planets, but then, having that trine, that it could be like love at first sight or just this seemingly random meeting, chance meeting that turns out to be an amazing thing, magical thing. There are squares from the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury to Jupiter. With the square between Mercury to Jupiter, tall tales, being, people lying like rugs, or you could say exaggerations. And you could say, well, somebody's gilding the lily a little bit, but, that could be trying to elicit a response, and that could be very dangerous if you have a powder keg. Because Mars in Scorpio is ruthless. You have Mars, the god of war, in its own sign of Scorpio. And if you know anybody, or if you have Mars in Scorpio, you know that this can be like this insatiable desire to leave no stone unturned. So an obsessive nature. But how, being really directed to kind of, it's like busting out these people that you feel are doing some bad stuff. And it's interesting too how some of these part of this whole thing concerns sexual abuse, particularly of children, you know what I mean, or sex trafficking of children. And these kinds of things are the things that, Scorpio is all about, and the taboos in society. But they, just like they say, even in prison, they have certain things that they don't tolerate. And one of them is the abuse of children. And my theory is because a lot of those people were probably abused as children. And they hold within themselves that inner child that is hurting. And they might be highly sensitive themselves. It's really amazing. The older I get, the more I realize that a lot of people who, have challenges in life, it is because of their sensitivity and their spiritual, nature. And that gets distorted sometimes and exploited. And some of the people that we think, wow, that person is so successful and they just are so go, go, go and all that stuff, they might be like a malignant narcissist. You never know. A lot of them might be. Not saying all successful people are, but it's just that we value these, certain people, and we might look down on other people. I try not to look down on people, but you know what I mean. And it's just sometimes it's upside down. Another thing that we have that is really connected to misinformation, well, actually disinformation, is Mercury opposing okay, I thought it was Neptune, but actually Mercury is opposing Uranus. And what can happen with this is that technology, because that's what Uranus can represent, can be used against people. Oh, I wonder if even the internet, they've been talking about the internet getting taken down. And one of the theories is that the internet would get taken down if, too much truth was coming out. So I didn't hear those other astrologers talk about that, or at least I didn't remember it. So I'm just curious if that could be like, we have information represented by Mercury and it's opposing technology. And some of you may know that a few weeks ago, Facebook was taken down or whatever. It was offline for hours, and it was a big deal because it wasn't just like an hour. It was like, I think like 8 hours or something like that. We all survived, but that might have been a test run. You never know, to see how people would react. There's different theories on that. So anyway, one last thing that I wanted to mention were those hard angles to Mars. So, Mars square Saturn that's a really big one, because Saturn can represent the authority figures. And when there's a square, there's a sense of frustration. But here again, Mars is in Scorpio. Saturn is in Aquarius. And Mars in Scorpio is very fierce. So, and it could be quite, fierce can mean fearless. And so, I mean, the thing that came into my mind was Tiananmen Square. And of course, we didn't have smartphones then. And it's just amazing that some people sometimes sacrifice for for a cause like that. Just like some people enlist to go fight in a war. I mean, I think to myself, oh God, I would never do something like that. And yet they really believe in the cause. So is that good or bad? Well, I mean, you can be a zealot and you can believe in something, but it's not necessarily for the good of mankind or humankind. But you have your passionate beliefs. The problem sometimes when people are fighting authority figures is that they're really fighting their fathers. Saturn is the father. And of course, the mother can be the authority figure. The mother may wear the pants in the family. The mother may be the only parent. So she's doing double duty. But regardless if it's the man or the woman, or both of them are authoritarian, if they are not yielding, then the child can resent that. And they project it onto anybody, cops, bosses, teachers, and even spouses. And I mean, I see these things, and I think, I mean, I see these. It's fashionable to put down people who are in authority, and there's a good side of that, in the sense that we're not giving away our power, but we have to be respectful of people who are risking their lives too. It's never one-sided. So there could be something with that. And then there's the opposition between Mars and Uranus. Now that's a real doozy, because Uranus is about revolutions and Mars is about the warrior. But there's an opposition. So if there was a trine, it might be a little bit more warm and fuzzy, and things just kind of falling into place. But, and also the thing about Mars is a sense of immediacy. And that can lead to sometimes impetuous or rash behaviors where somebody says, I don't care, I just have to do something. I don't care what it is. But with Uranus, it can be, the Boston Tea Party type of thing. It can be something where you're just completely rejecting the whatever's going on in the authority, and it could be a rebel without a cause type of thing, because there's just such rebellion in the air. Another thing that is happening too is that that can be another thing with Mercury opposing Uranus, is this very erratic speech where people are saying things off the cuff, coming out of nowhere and not thinking, and that might be problematic for them, that they should be very economical with their speech and very mindful of it. Because I also see here there's a conjunction between Mercury and Mars. That's the person who shoots their mouth off. As soon as it comes into their head, they're talking about something. And that's where Uranus comes in, because we have technology, we can do that. We can think a thought and then it can go around the world. I was thinking of that quote by Mark Twain, the truth travels the lie travels halfway around the world before the truth puts its shoes on, or something. That's certainly, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And then we have also an opposition between the moon and Mercury. So it's very interesting that we have some afflictions to Mercury, because Mercury is a big deal right now. The information is a commodity. And it's almost like we're living, it's almost like food for some of us. What's the latest? And it can be things, it's usually going to be, for some of us who don't believe the official story, it's going to be these alternative narratives. What have you heard? But with this opposition, the emotions are getting tangled up in it. And so what happens when emotions get tangled up? They can distort things. And there again, it's that projection of your conditioned mind and heart that is reading into things, projecting onto them, and then you take it away. You run with it, so to speak. Mars opposing Uranus. Mars squaring off to Saturn. And so I've been seeing these things for the last year now in various forums. And I keep saying, don't get sucked into something because you're emotional. There are people that prey on people, or even try to stoke them up and get them fired up so that they will act emotionally, because that's a form of manipulation. Feel your feelings, but analyze them before you think about acting on them, or before you think about posting them. But there could be something, with this conjunction between Mercury and Mars, where we're getting this information, like it's kind of like bam, bam, bam. So anyway, I started to get kind of excited as I kept detailing this, and I thought, well, maybe this is going to be a doozy after all. In a good way, a good doozy. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If there's anybody left, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just talking to myself. That's okay. And I wish you all the best. May we have an illuminating and spiritually fulfilling full Beaver moon. That's going to be funny to write in Taurus. Take care. Bye.